Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. It's lovely to sort of see all your bright, shiny faces. My name is Gaviola, and I'm with Global News. I mostly cover the business beat, but this topic is of particular interest to me because in 2018 I worked in FinTech, and we're going to be covering all different things related to AdTech and FinTech, where they meet, what's going on there. What I would love to start with is a quick introduction from both of my panelists. Tell me a little bit about yourself, just briefly, and your connection to this particular topic, and then we'll get right into it.
Yeah, so my name is Diana Lee. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Constellation Software Inc. We built a SaaS end-to-end marketing solution that has ad tech, compliance, legal, as well as data. We built the system back in 2016. What was the other question? I'm sorry.
Your connection to the topic.
Oh, and the connection to the topic, what I realized in starting the company was really this, is people buy products for three different reasons. One, they want to know how much the product actually is. The second, do they want to know whether you have the inventory? And third, really is, can they get it right away? Most consumers actually make the purchase based on those three facts. What I noticed really out there that drives a lot of the marketing that we see is being transparent with the pricing. And if you don't have that fintech ability to actually do thousands of iterations of offer iterations and disclosure iterations, a lot of times that you don't actually have the ability to launch ads in a way that's relevant to the audiences that are making those purchases.
I see some head nodding. Carolina.
No, I just like this because now I have a better understanding. Where Diana's talking directly to the brands, we are talking directly to the advertiser and to the agencies as well. So my name is Abenante. I am the co-founder of NYIAX. We are built on the NASDAQ financial framework, so we truly are fintech related. We have patents with the NASDAQ in multiple classifications and areas. And why we started working with fintech was we wanted to bring financial rigor to the advertising community. Advertising has been using financial ideas and marketplaces since 2008, and we wanted to take that scalability, we wanted to transform the usage of smart data and the ethical use of data for all of our participants. And what we see right now is, from an advertiser and agency standpoint, they want to see full transparency in how much they pay for each one of the ads which are displayed, whether it's going to be on CTV, whether it's going to be on your mobile phone device, desktop, or in any other medium. So transparency and price effectiveness and scalability are all certain aspects of what fintech brings to the model, which is rigor.
Okay, we started a little bit broader. Let's get into some more specifics. I would love to know from both of you, how have you threaded AdTech and FinTech together for your business? Make that clear.
Yeah, for us, what we notice is the financial industries are finding ways to make the transaction process simpler for the consumer market. So currently, right now, you go to a website most times to actually make a transaction, right? Whether it's through Shopify or those types of means. What we want to do is advance that journey inside of the ad unit. It is now the age that credit applications, as well as the transactions of actually purchase, can happen inside of an ad unit. We believe the future is that you don't actually need websites anymore, because everything driving to the website no longer will even be trackable, right? So if you can advance that journey within the ad tech and actually serve it to the personalized audiences, whether it be through Meta or through display, programmatic, the transactions can actually start happening from the ad unit. And that, to me, is life-changing for the consumer journey because they realize they can actually make the purchase faster and more frictionless.
I agree with everything that she says. We do the same. We do the same with NYIAX. We are looking at the idea of how to make it a more ethical and also a faster purchase for the individual. So it depends on how fast you want to display the ad, how your treatment of your data for it, how you're dealing with the personalized data. But in essence, what FinTech brings to the ad tech world and e-commerce world is speed, scalability, and transparency.
Okay, let's talk about, this is I call it the big pink elephant in the room question, and it changes a little bit, and certainly has in the last couple of years, but the pandemic has changed so much in terms of the way that we live our lives, the way that we purchase things, the way that we think about how we go about purchasing things. Can you, very kind of broad strokes, explain to me the impact of the pandemic on what you do and how people behave?
Do you want me to go?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the pandemic changed everything. I mean, to a lot of the audiences, if you actually want to start a business, you have to be able to stomach the things that have happened in the last 2 years, because it's been pretty profound how our economies change, inflation, pandemic, COVID, everything changed, everything about our business. Number one, recruiting and hiring was very difficult.
The labor
right?
shortage is a global phenomenon.
Yeah, and it's so hard. Even now in the US, it's not a shortage. I'm not actually seeing a shortage. What we did this year was actually go out to Dubai, because Dubai is one of the easiest areas to actually print visas for a lot of the immigrants coming into the US, right? And so we were thinking strategically, how do we get the best talent from India, Southeast Asia, and actually, because the best data scientists are really in that area that we've heard. So by being able to print visas in Dubai and being able to give them an ability to come into the US to an L1 visa versus an H1B where you have to go into a lottery was a big change. But really, to find the most effective, talented people out there, global hiring had to happen this year. So it's one of the things that we did differently.
Well, one of the things I will tell you, which is probably unpopular, the pandemic was really great for business. People were at home, they were watching television, they were watching their devices, so there was a lot of ads, and they were purchasing a lot. And so scaling during a pandemic was great for business, hard for talent. But then we found out the ability to hire talent and hire it successfully remotely anywhere in the world. We had already been using talent in Ukraine and other areas for since we started, since 2016. But we leveraged that even more during the pandemic timeframe. But it was very good for a lot of agencies as well. It's not the most popular thing to say, but it's the truth.
And I appreciate that. I mean, it can be, life-altering and difficult for many, and also a boost. That's how it's been with every single downturn since the beginning of history. That's part of the interesting thing, the trends and how things are different and how companies are forced to evolve as a result of that. I would love to get your thoughts on, how AdTech and FinTech together have changed the customer experience. We've touched on it a little bit, but let's go a little bit deeper into that.
Well, you mean from the experience of that every sort of ad becomes actually a purchase, and you can see the merger between e-commerce and advertising directly? Oh, that's been around for quite a bit of time. What we're seeing more is, and why I get back to that transparency, scalability, and the rigor that you're placing into that, you can take all the different formations of programmatic, which you have multiple players for, and all the people on both sides of the chain, whether it's the SSPs or the DSPs. What you bring when you have a centralized hub like NYIAX or Constellation Brands is you can create that economies of scale that before they were creating disparate exchanges in order to do. I mean, this is something that I would like them all to do with us, but it takes time. But yes, I think that what you're going to see in the future is more and more centralized hubs with the financial rigor.
And how I would answer the question really has to do with the biggest purchases that we make out there. It's your home, it's your car. And it's interesting that how many steps that it takes for you to actually make that purchase. Think about it. You actually go onto a website, Then you got to fill out a credit application. There's 52 steps in that credit application to get an approval process. You wait for the approval, then you basically have to select which banks that you want to go to. And all these banks, if you have good credit, are vetting for your business, right? So that's the most complicated ways of purchasing a house, insurance, car. The future really is if all those transactions can actually collapse inside of the ad unit and make it a much more simpler process where basically all of your data, your personalized information can be aggregated inside of the ad unit and come in speed time, you now can actually fill out the application within a second's time. And that is the future of personalization, right? And so we always talk about with iOS 14 changes and cookieless future, how we have to protect our data. But a lot of times what people don't understand is the advertisers are not going to stop advertising to you. We're not asking you the question, do you want advertising? Because you're getting it whether you like it or not. You know, and I think that there's a misunderstanding when people say, do you want tracking, right? Basically what they're saying is they're going to give you advertising. It's just not going to be personalized to you. So if you love motorcycles and you want to see them on an ad, you're not getting it. You could actually get ads that are not relevant to you. So I do think there's a lot of confusion there inside of marketing, which is really you're getting advertising whether you like it or not. And whether you want that personalized experience, that to me is more important. Because if you make the ad journey less aggravating for the consumer, they might actually say, I do want personalized advertising. So we want to really change that experience around, make it easier, make those transactions faster, easier, less stressful.
And you bring up some really important points, though there is certainly a lot of pushback, and some of that may be a lack of understanding, maybe a lack of transparency of how things work, but some very valid concerns about privacy and tracking and how we manage and how we give up so easily our own personal information too. You touched on something here in terms of misconceptions. I would like to hear from you. Anything that I want to give you the chance to kind of clear the air a little bit. Are there misconceptions or things that people maybe believe about this industry that you would like to set the record straight on in terms of, that's it's not actually how it works, it's more like this, in the vein of...
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this topic. One of the most aggravating things that recently happened is Apple launched iAds. I mean, to me, that is really shocking, right? Because they're the ones that were like, we're protecting the consumers. We're protecting the consumers, and that's why we're asking them if they want tracking. Then they launch iAds, right? So you wonder how big data is actually being aggregated. It's a monopoly. Google, Meta, Apple, they have it all. They don't want to share it with third parties. And overall, they don't want to even sell it to third parties anymore. And why? Because basically, as a monopoly, you only get bigger with the data that you actually have. If you don't have to share it with third-party marketers, there is no competition. So what I get aggravated is the fact that people don't see this correctly. People are actually saying, Google's saying, I'm protecting the consumers. But in reality, they have all of the data. It is a full monopoly. So entrepreneurs like myself, as well as so many others, hard to catch up to a monopoly situation where all the data is basically aggregated by the Amazons, the Apples, the Walmarts, these are giant companies, and overall, if they have all of your data and unwilling to share it with other advertisers, it is a full monopoly, and that's the truth.
So what you're speaking to is data as power, and then that consolidation, further consolidation of power. Is there anything else you wanted to
I agree, but I agree with a lot of what you've said, but most of the agencies, each one of them has their own data site. I mean, IPG has Axiom, Publicis bought Epsilon, you have Dentsu bought Merkle. They have just as much vast data, actually much more personalized data, all double opt-in. And given Experian, you can get that data. We're talking about, what Amazon has and what others have is not data on the general level that you would get from an Experian. That is actually credit card data that you're having. You know the person's social security number, you know everything about that. You can get a feed for that. Where I think I agree with you. It's not so much of the data, because data you can get from multiple sources on it, is now there's only going to be certain outlets that you can effectively use this data. Because the third-party cookie is going away, and this is a big deal.
Yes.
And if you look at CPRA in the United States, in California, you look at Virginia's new law that's coming out here, you look at Colorado, Washington State, the new one coming from New Jersey, it's very important to understand you will not have, smaller companies will not have the ability to display because they're taking third-party data in. What it helps for people like Meta, for people like Google, this is all first and second party data. It doesn't hit them. The legislators made a mistake. They stopped the ability for small people to work inside the industry by actually reinforcing the larger people because of third-party data.
I sense this is something that's kind of
I know
definitely
this area I know
radar.
very well. I know very well. I've been in lobbying with this one in DC quite a bit. So yes.
Okay, not a ton of time left. I would like to get just a few more questions in here. From both of you, I'd like to hear about where we're at in terms of this journey where AdTech and FinTech coexist. And by that I mean, are we towards the beginning? Are we somewhere close to the middle? I don't imagine we're very much towards the end in terms of what it's going to look like. And would you describe it as an infant, a toddler, a teen, a tween? Where are we at?
We're a toddler.
Okay, early days.
We are at the early days of everything. We have been talking about ad tech forever. If you remember Rubicon in the early days, which is Magnite right now, they used to say that they were the NASDAQ of programmatic. This was all the way back in 2011. We're at the very early days. We do not create centralized hubs. There's no way to share information seamlessly and easily between mediums. That is why you want the merger of FinTech. That allows for transmission quite easily.
So it's still siloed at this
It's
early
siloed
stage.
and it's impossible to, you're going to go to a clean room to get your data in order to do things. There are ways to bring it together and to scale it. Scaling is another area that FinTech helps with.
Yeah, we could go down the rabbit hole with the centralization versus decentralization, but that's fodder for another chat. And what's your view? Do you agree with that we're kind of toddler? We can do a few things, we can run around, but we're not where we're going to be.
I agree as well that we are in the very earlier stages, and mainly because I'm noticing that machine learning and predictive modeling is really coming into ad tech in a very big way. Just a year ago, we started inventing a way where texts actually create images. Now that's so interesting to me, right? Because you don't need libraries anymore. You don't need artists anymore. Automation and predictive modeling can actually make an image, right? And so from there, it's just the beginning of where thousands of ads can be made, all images and all, to a machine. And that's really the future, I think.
That sounds like a tremendous opportunity. It also sounds a little tiny bit dystopian if you read it in a kind of different way. One final thing, there are a lot of talks going on at this conference. I want to ask you, what is one thing you would like the audience to think about, to take with them once this talk has come and gone?
Caroline, anyone?
I think that you should look at your data, how you're going to utilize your data, and how you want to have your data received by all sorts of third parties in the future.
And for me, it's really realizing that it's not just about tracking, right? It's really about you're getting advertising whether anybody likes it or not. And overall, do you want it to be a personalized experience?
Okay, data is digital gold. Thank you so much for your time.